A former congressperson made me his right-hand man for about 3 months. Ted Yoho reached out to what he thought was Parler, asking for help to launch his new show, God, Country, Family.
Comedian and expert internet troll Ben Palmer convinced former Florida Republican Congressman Ted Yoho that he would help him start a new talk show on the right-wing social media site Parler, teaming up with Rebel HQ's own Walter Masterson to absolutely embarrass Yoho.
There are a lot of just ignorant people, completely, and it's like the stuff is happening right in front of them and they're just like totally ignorant. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just,
they fall for anything.
The crazy thing is Yoho even invited both the comedians to a CEO summit at Liberty University, the same university founded by evangelical televangelist crook Jerry Falwell, and the same university where Trump gave his now infamous commencement speech.
I asked Jerry and I asked some of the folks, because I hear this is a major theme right here, but 2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17, that's the whole ball game. Where the Spirit of the Lord, right? Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And here there is Liberty College, but Liberty University, but it is so true. You know, when you think, and that's really, is that the one? Is that the one you like? I think that's the one you like, because I loved it. And it's so representative of what's taken place. But we are going to protect Christianity.
At the summit, they would rub elbows with powerful conservatives in politics and faith circles, and even including the former president of Ghana, of all people, before Liberty Youth staff wisened up, recognized Walter, and kicked him out of the event, leaving Palmer to continue the mission solo.
When I presented the horse, forceps, and vasectomy mug, they didn't seem too bothered. It was when I pulled out the Target with the kids on it is when they got up and left.
I want Michelle's papers. Hi, babies. You guys not leaving here until we get her papers, and I want to call the police. This is all disingenuous. And in the process, they attacked me, and I got hurt. And I hope you have good insurance. And if I hear any of this stuff that I did not agree to on social media, you're going to be sued.
Yoho, who is against reproductive rights and tried to get a bill passed while he was in Congress that implements gun safety programs in schools to mitigate school shootings, didn't take kindly to Palmer's suggestions of forced vasectomies and adding a shooting range on school grounds, especially with former presidential candidate Michelle Bachmann in the room for an interview. So I thought Ben Palmer's comedy bit was pretty funny in terms of how easy it was for him to convince Ted Yoho to make Palmer his right-hand man. And that he was a part of the right-wing social media site Parler. It just shows you the level, I guess, of competence or the lack of awareness that some of these Republicans have. So yeah, it was good anti-Republican propaganda. But I did cringe a little bit at the shooting range on school grounds and, putting kids as target practice. I didn't really like that. I got what he was doing, or I get what he was doing, but that was a little cringe. And here's the thing, while Yoho is currently not in office, and he's really a relative nobody in the grand scheme of things for the party, you may remember him from these low moments.
As you mentioned, her position that the police should be defunded, and that the kind of the root of the spike in crime in New York is unemployment, is poverty, it is a lack of funding for social programs. And he really kind of went after her. He said that she was disgusting for holding that position, that she was way out of line.
As best as you can say on television, what was the language he used? What did he say, according to you?
F and B.
Okay.
It is true that we disagree on policies and visions for America, but that does not mean we should be disrespectful. Having been married for 45 years with 2 daughters, I'm very cognizant of my language. The offensive name-calling words attributed to me by the press were never spoken to my colleagues, and if they were construed that way, I apologize for their misunderstanding. I cannot apologize for my passion or for loving my God, my family, and my country. I yield back.
This week, apology from Yoho then prompted AOC to respond with this.
I walked back out, and there were reporters in the front of the Capitol. And in front of reporters, Representative Yoho called me, and I quote, a f***ing bitch. These are the words that Representative Yoho levied against a congresswoman. The congresswoman that not only represents New York's 14th congressional district, but every congresswoman and every woman in this country. Because all of us have had to deal with this in some form, some way, some shape, at some point in our lives. And I want to be clear that Representative Yoho's comments were not deeply hurtful or piercing to me, because I have worked a working class job. I have waited tables in restaurants. I have ridden the subway. I have walked the streets in New York City. And this kind of language is not new. I have encountered words uttered by Mr. Yoho and men uttering the same words as Mr. Yoho while I was being harassed in restaurants. I have tossed men out of bars that have used language like Mr. Yoho's. And I have encountered this type of harassment riding the subway in New York City. This is not new, and that is the problem. Mr. Yoho was not alone. He was walking shoulder to shoulder with Representative Roger Williams. And that's when we start to see that this issue is not about one incident. It is cultural. This is a pattern of an attitude towards women and dehumanization of others. And I do not need Representative Yoho to apologize to me. Clearly, he does not want to. Clearly, when given the opportunity, he will not. And I will not stay up late at night waiting for an apology from a man who has no remorse over calling women and using abusive language towards women. But what I do have issue with is using women, our wives and daughters, as shields and excuses for poor behavior. Mr. Yoho mentioned that he has a wife and 2 daughters. I am 2 years younger than Mr. Yoho's youngest daughter. I am someone's daughter too. My father, thankfully, is not alive to see how Mr. Yoho treated his daughter. My mother got to see Mr. Yoho's disrespect on the floor of this house towards me on television. And I am here because I have to show my parents that I am their daughter and that they did not raise me to accept abuse from men.
Full credit to AOC for taking on this loser and putting him in his rightful place, especially given how he was running his mouth in the media and trying to distance himself from the altercation.
But when you turned around and walked down the stairs, did you refer to her as a F word, B word?
No, I walked down the steps and I said, this is just such frickin' BS. And that's all I said. And then a reporter came up to me and said, what was that about? I said, no comment. Did you say this? I said, no comment. And I left. You know, there's another part of the story that's not being told that she doesn't tell.
The thing about right-wing politics is that they are inherently discriminatory and hostile towards certain groups of people and individuals. We're talking about the LGBTQ plus community. We're talking about black and brown people. We're talking about immigrants. The list goes on and on. Women of color, right? The other aspect that has to be addressed is the Republican Party is really largely to blame for these inequalities still existing when you look at how marginalized communities are treated, whether it's from the Republican Party or just flat out right-wingers. The sad thing is, though, Democrats really haven't put up much of a fight to stop them. Their message, their playbook is to go high when Republicans and right-wingers go low. It's, oh, we're not like them. We're not going to stoop down to their level, right? We're above them. And sure, that's all fine and dandy, but sometimes you have to fight back. You have to fight back. You cannot just allow yourself to be bullied and run over by people in the Republican Party who are doing nothing but hurting America and trying to prevent us from living in a harmonious and unified society. Now, the Democrats got to do work, right? They have to be better in a lot of ways. But the Republican Party is really showing their behinds right now